Hello, all you birds and chickies out there. Welcome to Patreon, the Wild Thing Art Academy Patreon. And today we're going to paint a macaw. It's this beautiful red macaw. I thought it'd be a fun thing to paint in the Wild Thing Art Academy. So let's get started. So you should have received, and if not, the template is in the link below this video, but you should have received a reference photo of this macaw. And you should also have received the template to transfer your macaw onto the canvas. So that's what we need. So to be prepared for this class, you need to have your macaw transferred onto your canvas. If you have not done that, pause this video, transfer your macaw onto whatever surface you plan on painting on. In this case, I am painting on a 12 by 12, just a little canvas board. And that's what I'm working on, but you feel free to work on whatever you want and use whatever medium you want. I am also going to use some more unusual colors, not my typical colors that I use in Wild Thing. I usually use a phthalo blue red shade, Indian yellow, and the magenta, the golden magenta. But today we will be using those. However, I'm going to be adding a lot of neon colors to this bird because he is so magnificently beautiful with those colors. So what I'm going to do is we're going to get started with the blue areas, or what I call the cool shades. So the cool shadows. So I'm going to start in blocking in cool shadows. We're going to jump right in here. So where I'm seeing cool shadows at is right here in these little between the feathers. Those are, to me, those look really dark in this photo. By the way, I did take this photo off of a royalty-free site, and I did exaggerate those colors so we would have a better idea of how we can make this macaw pop, even though they're naturally beautiful on their own. So I'm going to be laying in the phthalo blue red shade in the areas where I see shadows, and then we're going to start layering on top of it. We'll let that settle, and then we'll work on his beak and his eye, and then we'll go back and start really making him pop. So let's get started here. I have my water, my paper towels, and over here is my paint. The magenta, the golden quinacridone magenta, the phthalo blue red shade, and the Indian yellow here, and I got titanium white here. So let's begin. So I'm going to start by grabbing a small brush. I'm going to grab a small flat brush. This is, I believe, a number 4 flat brush. Let me see, my poor brushes are quite used. So what I want you to do is, before we get started, take a nice big deep breath. And then let it out, along with any judgment, any preconceived ideas that you have for this painting. Let it all go. I want this painting to be uniquely yours. Remember, there's no one else that can make a mark like you. There's no one else that can make this painting the way you're about to make it. But what I want you to do is set aside the little ideas that you have that it should look like, and let's let your inner muse, your inner artistic muse, come out and play. So I want it to express itself and not your ego or your judgmental mind. Lay the judgmental mind. So as we're painting, I want you to think about what you're painting, or what you're thinking while you're painting. So if you're thinking, oh, I don't kind of like this, it's not looking like hers, or whatever thought you might be thinking, let that go. Let that thought go. Even if it's like, oh, I'm kind of liking that. Well, it's okay to say, I kind of like that. But if you start in thinking too highly of it, then later you might walk back to it and be disappointed in what you were seeing. So try not to think while you're paint. In other words, paint intuitively. We were all created to paint. So let that out, but let the thinking mind rest, if that makes sense. So let's get started. So I'm going to take a look at this reference photo, and I encourage you to have printed this out and be looking at this as well. And I'm going to look at the dark area. So I see a dark pupil, but I'm going to go ahead and color in that whole eyeball just so it gives it depth, and also so it's drying while we're working on other areas, because we're going to come back to that little eye, and then here's this little eye over here, and we're going to work that eye and make him pop with his eyes. Okay, so let's take a look here. He's got dark area in his beak. And if you're freehanding this, by all means, go for it. And then this whole lower beak is dark, so we're going to go ahead and darken that. I probably should have used a bigger brush for this. You use, the bigger the brush generally, the better. So you use what you feel most comfortable with. A lot of people tend to go with too smaller brushes, and you want your work to look free and artistic. So the bigger the brush, the more you're able to do that. And he has a dark tip right there. And the reason I put these lines down the center is to show the curvature of that beak. You can see this very prominent curvatures of that beak that goes around his beak. So we want to make sure we capture that. And then it's dark in here as well. So that's part of his little, I'm not well versed on birds, so you'll have to pardon me. That's his goozle. That's my Wild Thing Art Academy scientific name for whatever that is right there that we're painting that thing underneath that bird's throat. We're going to call it as goozle. All right, so we're going to go ahead and paint in some of these dark areas here. So where I've got the lines, I drew those in to indicate some of the dark areas. So we're just going to go ahead. There's a dark area right up here. Kind of goes around. So just start filling in those areas that I've drawn in that indicate shading. So we want to give those feathers some layering depth here. I'm going to try to work pretty quickly with him, because the more I feel, the more I don't think about it and just let it flow, I think the better this is going to turn out. There are some amazing blue spots on the ends of those feathers too. So typically, if you've done any of my other classes, I usually start out by outlining the animal in the magenta, and I have opted not to do that because these colors are so beautiful and vivid that I think that I'm going to take a different approach here, obviously. So we're creating shadows. What we're doing is just creating shadows. So when we layer on top of this, we're going to be, and I just did because the template print ends right there, and I left that blank to give a little more artistic creation right there where the image ends. So we're thinking not the actual feather itself, but the shadow itself. So I don't know much about these birds. I do know they live a long time. And those that have them, they live to over 100 years old, I believe. Please feel free to correct me in your comments if you have one and know more about them than I do. Please educate us on them. I just know they're beautiful. I remember I lived in Venice, Florida for a period of time, Sarasota area, Venice, Florida, and there was a man that used to go to the beach with it was a cockatiel, and that cockatiel he took swimming in the ocean. He would take it out in the water, and that thing just absolutely enjoyed it. And the other thing we had in Florida was wild parrots, and they were the green, beautiful green. And boy, were they noisy. They flew in flocks. But unfortunately, because of the weather in Florida, and because these birds live to be so old, sometimes people would turn them loose, like everything else they do in Florida that's exotic, that can survive the warm weather. Like all sorts of reptiles are turned loose a lot. But occasionally, one time I was driving down the road and was at a stoplight and just happened to look up on top of the stoplight, and there on top of the stoplight sat one of those beautiful white cockatiels, just like what that gentleman had at the beach. It wasn't his, but apparently it either escaped or somebody turned it loose, which is unfortunate. But he seemed happy up there on top of the stoplight watching the traffic go by. Can't wait to start using some of these neon colors on this bird. And thought it'd be gorgeous colors. And what we're going to do after this is lay in some magenta in the warm areas and the red as well. Just starting to lay your color and depth. And I'm seeing some shadows, some cool shadows right underneath on his foot there that I'm going to paint in. And a little bit on top as well. Remember, you want to go with the curvature, so I'm kind of angling it like this top of that foot's round, so you want to kind of brush your strokes in the direction that the object is going. This also, I'm going to go ahead and put some of these wood grain, this wood, whatever he's sitting on, that little wood thing. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of outline that. And then that nail is definitely blue in the photo, so we're going to go ahead and put that in. All right, let's clean the brush. Oops, no, I've just missed a couple areas up in here that I want to put in. Got excited, ready to move on here. All right, now I believe we're ready to move on. So let's move on to magenta, and let's fill in just some areas to create depth. And what I'm looking at, just some darker areas in that red that we can put it in. So definitely around that beak area. Let's go ahead and pop some in here. And I'm seeing kind of like some, like at the tips of these are kind of red, darker, just a touch darker red. So maybe just the red feathers all along through here, maybe adding that in. And then maybe adding some of that in here, down on his, underneath his belly. And then underneath his chin area. And as you can see, that's kind of turning purple because the blue hasn't set all the way, which is perfectly fine. All right, let's move on here. I'm cleaning out my brush, and let's take a look at that. I wonder if that eye, so it's okay to touch your work. Yep, I think it's the eye is okay to start working on. So let's take a look at his eye. His eye is yellow and a black circle in it. His left eye, or if we're looking at it, be on the right side, this eye over here has a shine to it. This one really doesn't, but we're going to put one in anyway just to give him more life. So it looks like kind of an Indian yellow, and then same with this, and then the black pupil. So let's go ahead and let's put, I haven't got my black out. Let's put some black in, and I'm using Liquitex Mars Black. Let's put some black out here. Cleaning my brush and then making sure that I don't have it too wet here. And let's go with this smaller brush. So I'm going to go with this number 1 little small brush here, and I'm going to paint in that pupil. So it's just the center there, painting in over that blue. And then seeing here, it's more kind of looking at us, so it's in the side area right here. All right, clean your brush out. And then we want to make sure that we don't mix that yellow and the black pupil. So let's give that a moment to set up, and let's move on to the beak area. So definitely some Indian yellow in that beak, and then it gets lighter as it goes up here, and there's a nice highlighted shine right here. So let's go ahead and let's get into that Indian yellow. And let's put it in the bottom right here. So full strength. And I'm going to go just like that here. And then it kind of goes up the ridge just a bit. So I'm going to go up that ridge. And kind of let it stop right there. And then let's go ahead and let's lighten that up as we go up his nose there. So let's go ahead and bring this out, and let's get some white in here, and let's mix up a lighter yellow. And so here we go. I'm going to mix up a lighter yellow, and we're going to go up this right in here. And that's a dark yellow too. That's looks like part of his beak, but it's a darker yellow, so. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get the Indian yellow back in and do this darker yellow right here on the side here that I missed. And I'd like that just a touch darker, and just a tiny bit. Black to that. Kind of a grayish green area there, and I'm going to add that right there. And then I'm going to make a little darker, a more richer, because this bird is so colorful. I don't think we can overdo it at all. I'm going to grab some magenta and this Indian yellow, and I'm going to make a nice warm, kind of orangey color. And we're going to go up just the center of this nose. I don't like those brush streaks in there. And then let's go with the back into the lighter yellow. So let's make this yellow even lighter. And then let's go ahead and finish the top of that beak here. And then there's quite a shine right there. There. And then there's a wonderful shine right here. I don't know if we can capture the paint, may be way too wet. Let's see if we can't put that shine, and if not, we can go back when it dries as we're working on other parts. And it just goes right up that. Just like that. There's also just a touch bit of shine there. All right, let's hold on that for just a bit. The eyes may be ready for us to start on, so let's get that Indian yellow again and our little kind of a liner brush, and let's get that in that Indian yellow, and let's fill that eye in. And let's remember, stay in the blue. So it's starting to look yellow. You can't really see it from there. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of the lighter yellow. See if we can't bring that out as more of a yellow. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, that's much better. So his eye's starting to take shape here. I'm going to add just a touch, just to add some depth to that eye. I'm washed out my liner brush, and I'm going to get into that orange that we just made. And I'm going to kind of put a kind of like a little depth in that eye right here, just to give it, I'm not outlining it totally, but I just want to give it a little depth so that it kind of doesn't look so flat. So by darkening the outer edge here, and then I'm going to do that right here on this eye. There, that's coming together now. I want to soften that just a touch. There we go. Now, on the photo, there is a reflective off the lens of that eye right there that I want to capture. May cover it up as we're painting along the feathers on the outside of that, but let's go give it a try now. So we're going to just go ahead and put white, just like that. And then let's take the end of that brush, and we're going to take and put a white dot just to give his eye some life, just a bit, right there, there, and maybe, whoops. If you drop your brush, it's okay with paint on it. We can fix it. A little touch right there. All right. So there he's looking at us. Even though the picture doesn't show, I guess birds' eyes aren't very reflective. The picture doesn't show, but for humans, we like to have a kind of human element connection. So if you make their eyes a little moist and with the reflection on it, it gives them a little more human element connection, if that makes sense, and people will connect to your painting a little more. Okay, so let's take a look here. Let's go ahead. Am I ready to start on this? I think we're going to work our way up. So let's go ahead and go with, I am going to use this fluorescent blue. It's Liquitex fluorescent blue. And again, I'll have all these links available so you can make sure I'm getting it into the, do you see it? Nope. Scooch the palette over. And there is a fluorescent blue. I also have a golden teal blue as well that I'll be trying out. So we're going to try this. So we've got 3 different blues, and we can make a variety of those shades with adding white to it. And we can make a beautiful green too with adding yellow to it. So here we've got the phthalo blue, the fluorescent blue, and the teal blue. So let's take a look and see what we got here. I'm going to use a different brush. So I'm going to get a Filbert size 10. What are we going to start with here? So since we've got that as the phthalo blue as the base color, we're going to jump into the fluorescent blue. And let's see, I'm going to start just blocking that in. Kind of go over that whole area here. The bottom feathers are all blue, so don't have to worry about messing anything up if we just go over the bottom feathers in all blue. And I like texture to my paint, so I will leave thick paint on there, and especially since these are feathers that have texture, that will help give it a texture look as well. I don't know if you can see how I'm doing that, but I'm just leaving thick paint on here. There. All right, and then let's take a look. That blue goes up to the tips of these which I have marked out. So let's go ahead and put that in. Boy, this bird is just so colorful and so gorgeous. And that's green on there, so we can make a beautiful green to go in that. All right, let's go ahead and let me take a look here. There's some blue in these upper feathers here, and that would be these feathers right here, I believe. And right in here. And then these kind of, oh, these feathers go up. Okay, he's starting to come together just a bit. All right, so now we're going to go into the yellow. We're going to all make this, so what we're doing is laying in the base colors, and then we'll go back in, we're going to lay some depth and some highlights and really make those colors pop. So let's go ahead and do the Indian yellow. So we're just going to block those in with the Indian yellow. Now there's some green too right there, so we're gonna make sure some of these red feathers have yellow tips on them. The beauty of using acrylic paint is that it dries fairly quick, and so if you make a mistake, you can apply it thickly, and if you make a mistake, you can go in once it's dried and I don't know if you saw that, there's a little gnat crawling around. Hope he's not on camera. I don't know what he's doing. He's wanting to paint too. As you notice, this paintbrush is not flat, it's curved on the edges. It's called a filbert, and these are great for painting feathers because you can kind of lift up and they're not square, so they don't make a harsh edge, and they're kind of rounded, the color of a feather. What do we got here? This is kind of, feathers are kind of green, but they have yellow in them. So as you can see, you can still see that blue underneath, but that's okay because we're going to be adding more and more color on top of that to receive those harsh lines back. So I'm using getting some more Indian yellow out on my palette. All right, let's move on to another base layer. Let this set up a little bit. And let's go with, I love this, I've got this Pyrrole red that is just gorgeous. We're going to try this out on this. So we got the magenta there, so let's pop some of this bright red on it. And this is pyrrole red, golden. Let's start. And this is kind of like, ooh, oh, that's gorgeous. Look at that. And there's really no, it's almost like he's fuzzy up here. So there's really no distinction. Oh, look at that red. Isn't that not pretty or what? Careful about getting in because that paint is, the yellow is, and it'll make a nice beautiful orange, which is fine. But so we're going to paint in the rest of this bird. So what he's kind of got little fuzzies right there. So make sure you're putting that in. And paint around that eye area. And then again, making sure that you're getting your fuzzies in. Watch your little eyeball here. I almost painted it out. And I think I need to go back in and add that Indian yellow right there. I missed that area. Painting around that eye area, whatever that's called. I don't know. Like I said, feel free to educate me as far as these beautiful birds are concerned, because I don't know a whole lot about it other than they are gorgeous. I'm adding some little sweeping marks there to indicate the feathers. And this goes right. Down to his belly area. All right, so let's let the red area set up. So clean out your brush. And let's take a look at those feet. So we're gonna let the whole bird set up just a bit while we're working on the feet. So let's take a look at those feet. I'm gonna go into that orange color that we created. If you need to make some more, it's the yellow and the magenta. And I'm going to fill in his little feet here. And I'm going to add just a little bit of yellow, Indian yellow to that, just to give that a little bit more dimension on top there. And that nail looks blue in that photo, but I'm going to add just a little bit of the orange right underneath it like that. All right, let's go and move on to this little wood area. I'm just going to take this orange again and some magenta and Indian yellow, and I'm just going to start filling this in. I'm going to warm that up a bit with some more yellow. And you can use, again, this is your bird. Nobody else will make the choices that you make for your painting, and that's a good thing. So if you want to use a brown for that, perfectly fine. I'm going to go ahead and add a little magenta down here in the, just because I can. And then there. All right, so we've got that filled in. Let's take a look. I'm looking in on camera. Let's see. Let's let that area set up a little more. This area right here we can work on around his beak. So let's go into the black and darken that area up. So I'm just going to go into the Mars black, and I'm just going to go ahead and add some dark where it's coming up from around underneath his beak there. And then it's dark right here, and then where his beak meets, or the crease of his beak. And then it's dark where it meets up and next to his face there. All right, pretty happy with that. It has a little bit of a reddish tone up here. That's kind of like purple to me. Let's do a purple. Purple would be wonderful. So we're going to do magenta and blue. Oh, that's a beautiful deep purple. I love the purple that makes. And we're just going to go in here, and I'm going to add just a touch of white there and make a little highlight there, and kind of down like that, so his beak comes up and around there. And then, oh, we forgot this over here. Let's go ahead and fill this in as well. It kind of goes up like that. Let's go with the dark and darken that. So we recede that back just a little bit. So remember, darks recede. So let's go ahead and fill that in, and then like that. And I'm going to go ahead while I'm here, I'm going to darken that into that beak there. And then this little area right here is pretty dark. So let's go ahead and put that in as well. All right. So let's go ahead and let's work on this area right here. And that's just simply, I think, an Indian yellow and that nice orange. So let's go ahead and fill this area in, whatever that cheek thing is called on a bird. I am not sure. Be careful of that eyeball. Fill that in, and then let's go ahead and add just a touch of this orange that we created, kind of like right in here. Okay, now let's work on this area here. I think that looks like Indian yellow with some of that orange laid on top of it as well. It's really textured. So let's go around the eye. And the eye circle's lighter than this area right here, so we'll highlight that with some white. All right, let's go in with some of this nice orange, and I'm going to mix some more up. A little bit of this. And let's kind of texture this, just textured. Go around that eye. It's kind of textured kind of around that eye. And let's go in with the liner brush here, and we're going to go in with some white. We're going to kind of line this eye right here. It goes up. And then it kind of goes around and around. And there's kind of like these highlights in this too. So these squiggly things. All right, let's leave that alone for now and let's let that set up. All right, let's go back to the blue. So we've set this neon blue in here. Let's add, let's see, I want to darken some of this blue. So see the deep rich blue? That's, I believe, just this phthalo blue. And we're going to go ahead and let's just darken some areas here. So go in and underneath the feathers once again. And we're going to darken that. Okay, that's the beauty of painting, is that once it dries and you go, well, I think it needs more, you can always layer on top of it. Okay, let's go ahead and clean the brush out. And now we're going to go with this teal blue. So let's get in that teal blue. Kind of excited about using it. And let's hit the highlights here. There's these tips of these yellow that are accented in blue. And if you take your little brush and do a little curvy like that, you'll get that in there. I'm using my filbert still. And then there's just that sheen that's going across here. All right. Now, let's look at that yellow and let's start to brighten that up. So I am going to use a fluorescent yellow. Let's see, what else do I have here in my arsenal of paints? I've got this chartreuse. I don't know if I'll use it or I'll get it out and we'll see what it looks like. I think it's more of a yellowy green. Oh, that might work too. We'll just try it out. Okay, so let's go with this fluorescent yellow. And I'm going to just add some beautiful color on top here. Now be careful of getting that into the color we just put on, because blue and yellow make green, which we want a green here in a minute, but not right at the moment. We don't. All right. That's really orange, turning orange in the photo right here. So, but I like this color, so I'm going to use it, and we may darken that with the orange here in just a minute. Okay. So I accidentally smeared some of my blue in there, and I like it. So I'm going to leave that. Let's take a look at some orange here, and I just got the perfect orange for that. Look, I love this, the golden fluorescent orange. That's going to look lovely. So let's take a look here. And that may just go everywhere because it's got a seal on top. Let's open the lid up. there's any in there. I've got another bottle. No need to panic. I always make sure I have my fluorescent orange and fluorescent pink. All right, let's take a look and see what this happens. All right, so I'm seeing orange in here. Ooh, I like it. I like it. Oh, you can't see how beautiful that orange is in the camera. All right. I'm really liking that orange, but we're gonna back off of that for just a little bit. And let's take a look at that green that's tipping the edges of the feathers. And I'm gonna use this vivid lime green here. I'll put that right in the center here so that's a big old bunch of lime green I just put out there. Let's see what we got here. So these are tipped, and I just want to put a lot of paint on here just to create texture. This one's all green. So is that one. And then some of these are just tipped. And there is some that the pattern just kind of goes up just a touch on it. But I think I'm happy with that. I think that just really brought that out. Now I'm looking at the camera. Sometimes if you take a photo of your painting, you can see areas that kind of jump out at you. You don't want really anything jumping out. You just kind of want it to just all flow together. And I'm seeing kind of this blue area jumping out. So what am I going to do about that? I just might make some purple to tone that down. So I'm going to take some of this phthalo blue and a little magenta and then mix that up and see what we can do about toning that down just a bit, just to kind of, and I'm just going to kind of squiggle up in there. Just to give it just a touch more depth and brilliance. There. And if you just kind of use your artistic flair and kind of like that with those, so I'm just doing little squiggly little bits of marks, so it's just not such a, so that looks more feathery. So, and then let's rinse out our brush, and we're going to do the same thing in the orange and yellows and green, just a touch, just to feather that so it looks more feathery. So clean out your filbert brush that we just used, and let's try that as well. So just barely. Remember, don't overwork your painting. There, I am pleased with that. Okay, that's looking much better. All right, let's take a look here at, so I'm seeing this area right here I'm not real pleased with, but I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to go ahead and let's work in the red area. So what can we do there? The orange would be gorgeous. So this orange, we're just gonna pop him in, and matter of fact, I'm gonna highlight his edge of his head right there, because it's just, and over here he's got orange as well. And I'm just gonna highlight some of these feathers, just like that. So I'm kind of going where my dark areas that I had painted in, kind of going on top of that, because that's the shadow of some of these feathers, if that makes sense. Oh, look at that. I wonder if it was in there. I heard it round and around. Look at that little ball right there. It's a little ball that was, that was in there when you hear it, when you shake your, I've not seen one before. So there it is. So what I'm doing is putting the edges of and I'm going to highlight this little area here, and just a little bit around his eye, just to give him personality. And remember, he's your bird, so yes, I'm liking how he's coming along now. See how I'm putting that blue in, added some depth into when we're layering on top, added some dimension there. See, just a little bit of orange right there. Okay, he's coming along. And you know what else I love to add with the orange is this pink. I love the pink. Hear that rattle? That's that ball that I just spit out of my orange over there. That's the ball. Whoa. Man, that just, okay. Happy accident, as Bob Ross says. But dang, I like that pink and I don't want to waste it. But oh well, happy accident. We're going to apply pink here. All right, so I like to go kind of where we're going to accent. Remember, don't go too crazy with the pink. We're just going to add just some little bit more dimension here to him. Oh, that's pretty. You know what? I like that enough that I'm going to go down into this area even. Pretty. We're about to get him wrapped up. I'm liking him. I need to fix this area here though. So let me see what I'm going to do about that. Let's go with some purple in that area to kind of darken this. And then underneath where his foot is setting, so kind of where he's setting, I'm going to just add a little dementia. Oh, Lordy. Adding a little bit of, I'm just adding a little bit of dementia to this. Okay, that's better. That's better. And then let's highlight that foot. So he looks a little more real, and I'm going to take a little white and pop it, and let's do a little reflection on that nail there. And then, talking of reflection, let me clean this brush out. It was starting to get dry and I didn't clean it out good enough. Talking about reflection, let's look at that beak. So I kind of covered up just a touch here on the, got carried away with my orange. Let's go ahead and add a little highlight on that beak. And we're going to take white and do that with. So I see that, just that nice shine right there, and then a shine that goes here, and it goes across like that. So here and then over. There. I'm kind of liking that. Let's add a little, again, our own little artistic, just a touch of white just to make all that pop out even more. A little shine. And I want to add some of this beautiful orange to that eye, just to make that even pop even more. Oh, I like that. And touch right here. How are you doing? Okay, no judgment. You're doing awesome. I can tell you that. Okay, let's take a look here. Is there anything else that we want to do to our bird? And I have some ideas that I think I'd like to do. Since this is such a colorful painting, I would like to add some splatters. I love to do like interesting marks on my painting, so a nice place that we could add an interesting mark would be right here. And I'm just going to take some of this pink, and since I've got so much of it, and add an interesting mark right there. And there as well. All right. So here's what else we can do. I think would make a nice little touch. Let me grab me a nice brush that would do this with. Usually a flat brush. That is, I'm just grabbing a number 4 flat brush. And I'm gonna wet my brush down and put it in and I'm gonna add splatters. Just like this. Kind of all. And you can take another brush as well and tap it. And then you can take another color. Let's see what color we want to use. How about this teal? Let's do that as well. Adds a nice, since this is such a colorful little dude, let's just make him like wild. Well, one of the things, and I'll show this technique in another, is you can take a straw and blow those splatters out, make them sparkle. There's a straw. Hold on, let me get the straw. So I have a straw that looks like this. It's got a little bend. It's plastic, actually, or plastic or rubber or something. And you just go. Like that, you can create some interesting little colors there. And if you take the end of your paintbrush and go whoop, 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 you can also make it even more, just like that. So make your mark, whatever you feel like doing, make your mark on that. But otherwise, I believe he is ready to sign. So, great job, everyone. How do you feel about your bird? No, you feel awesome. Because remember, no one else has a bird like you. Yours doesn't look like mine, or exactly like mine anyway, and it doesn't look like anyone else's, so no one can make the mark that you make. So congratulations, good job. I hope that you feel nurtured, your inner spirit, your inner artist just to flourish, and you feel happy. Congratulations on your macaw bird. You'll have to name him, and then you need to sign him, and then you need to take a step back and go, took me a minute to get that applause going there, so they were a little bit sleeping, I guess. But have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining me in painting this macaw. I hope you give him a great name, and I hope you give him a beautiful place to live, either in your home or your friends, or sell him, or whatever you want to do. But thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time.